Good evening, everyone. Welcome to a Vital Plan webinar. The topic for the webinar today is the Restore Kit 101 webinar. We teach you all of the basic ins and outs of the Restore Kit, how it works, what is included in the Restore Kit, and who might benefit from the Restore Kit. So my name's Tim Yarbrough. I'll be the moderator for the webinar tonight. Dr. Bill Rawls will be joining us in just a little bit as the creator of the Restore Kit. And we have several chat moderators on from our customer support team that'll be fielding questions and answers from you all as well. Thanks everyone for being here. We hope you learn a lot about this advanced immune support protocol. It's helped a lot of people, and we hope you get some great information about it during the webinar. So the plan for the webinar, Dr. Rawls will be joining us in just a moment. He's going to cover the root causes behind a lot of the conditions that you may be experiencing and why you're here hoping to improve your health tonight. We're going to talk about restorative therapies and the way to address the root causes of those issues. And then we're going to talk about the Restore Kit itself, exactly what is included, what the herbs are, how they work on the body, and what the overall approach is that we're going to use here, and what else beyond the herbs is included. That's also an important part of this protocol. And then we will have a special webinar offer for everybody that's here registered for the webinar. And then we'll have an additional special treat for folks that are here live, just on the live viewing of the webinar. And that is a Restore Kit giveaway. We'll be giving away one free Restore Kit to one of the lucky attendees. So definitely stick around for that, and then we'll follow up with a question and answer portion toward the end of the webinar. Hopefully we'll answer most of your questions during the webinar, but we will have a little time to field some more at the end. So Dr. Rawls is the medical director and co-founder of both Vital Plan as well as Rawls MD. He's been featured on People's Pharmacy on NPR, on Fox News, on Mind Body Green, Mother Earth Living, and a variety of other health and wellness websites and media outlets. He's really passionate about holistic health. He's been practicing medicine for over 30 years and has been through Lyme disease and fibromyalgia himself, so he knows what he speaks about firsthand, professionally and personally. So he's looking forward to sharing any information he can about how to accelerate your path to better health. And if you want more information, he's got a lot of great articles at Rawls MD you can check out. He's also author of Unlocking Lyme, which is a best-selling book and a really great reference, and also has articles, of course, at Vital Plan. So without further ado, I will pass things over to Dr. Rawls and invite you on, Dr. Rawls, and let you take it from here.
Thank you, Tim. And welcome, everybody. I'm Dr. Bill Rawls, and I am excited to share with you information about this kit we've created that's helped so many people. But before we get there, I want to talk about this problem, this thing that we call chronic Lyme disease, and what kind of solutions that we really need to work at, and what kinds of things worked for me. So my most important contribution to this whole thing is that I've been there. I've experienced virtually every symptom known associated with chronic Lyme, fibromyalgia, however you want to define it. I think many of these things are overlapping. And I had to do recovery around my life. I couldn't just stop life and get off and recover. I had to create a pathway to move around my illness, to move beyond my illness, to get my life back. And that's what we've tried to condense in this program, is to help people move beyond that. So yeah, this was me 15 years ago, feeling like I was in a deep, dark hole with no way out. But I figured as long as I could see light at the top, I could keep going. And I clawed my way to the top, and once I got there, I felt it was my role as a physician to help other people, which I've done for many years through my practice. I took a year out of my life and wrote Unlocking Lyme, which has helped a lot of people. And we've created these supplements that follow the pathway that I followed, that I found to be very reliable. So I have a poll question here. How long have you been struggling with this thing? What are you dealing with? And for most people, that is usually a while. So less than a year, several years, a lot of years, a very long time. Make a choice, and don't forget to click the submit button. So that will help me just know who you are out there and what your lives are like and how much you've been struggling.
And Dr. Rawls, while they're voting on that, I forgot to mention earlier, we did survey everyone that was registering for the webinar, and we had about 50% of people had just Lyme disease, they thought. There's about 10% that had some overlap of Lyme and fibromyalgia or Lyme and chronic fatigue, and then some people who had just one or the other, and then about 7% thought they had all three and some other things going on, but the majority were Lyme and some of these others.
Very good. Thank you, Tim. I think that's good information, and the fact that people identify with more than one thing is very important. So average, most of people are struggling for 4 to 8 years. Some people less than a year, but most people have been at this for a while. So what that tells me is that most of you would have what is defined as chronic Lyme disease. And I'd like to differentiate between acute Lyme disease and chronic Lyme disease. So acute Lyme disease happens when a person is bitten by a tick and that the microbes enter their body, and the acute symptoms of the infection or the tug of war between the immune system and the microbes. These are really stealthy microbes, though. The first thing they do is infect white blood cells. So they all have the capability of living within cells. And that's true with all of our Borrelia, the one associated with Lyme disease, and all of the other co-infections too. But infecting white blood cells allows them to do two really important things. One, to manipulate the immune system and throw it off balance so they have the upper hand, they can get the advantage. And two, to disperse to all tissues in the body where they infect other cells where they're getting nutrients. So those two qualifications are really important. So the acute infection is when that mobilization phase is going on. A lot of people have symptoms during that time, but a lot of people don't have any symptoms because these microbes don't typically make people severely ill. They're really sneaky. They just slide in under the radar. During that active phase, when the immune system is still strong, antibiotics can be really beneficial. Not in eradicating the microbes. I don't think that ever happens with antibiotics. But the antibiotics can knock the numbers of the microbes down enough that the immune system can quickly gain the upper hand. So you got a window of opportunity there that can really make things work. But I'm talking to a crowd of people that either got antibiotics and it didn't make them well, which is really common. The official record of that is 10 to 20% of people who get antibiotics for an acute infection don't get well or develop chronic symptoms long after. So that's the post-treatment Lyme disease syndrome. I tend to throw them all together because I'm not sure microbes the antibiotics completely eradicate the microbes. As long as somebody's immune system is strong, they're okay. Chronic Lyme disease is more typically me, someone who probably got bitten young and had these microbes deep in their tissues and was healthy and fine until some stress came along and disrupted immune system functions. For me, that was years and years and years of taking call every second to third night and being severely sleep deprived. Caught up to me in my mid-40s and I crashed. So I think I've been carrying these microbes all along. So the key thing with this thing is that the immune system isn't working properly. And Lyme disease isn't just Borrelia. There are 12 species of Borrelia worldwide that can cause Lyme disease, but most everyone knows that there are co-infections. There are other things that people can get. And this study showed that the majority of people, they took samples of people that had been tested positive for Lyme, and then they checked them for other microbes. In the majority of them, they found multiple other microbes in their bloodstream. So it's not just Borrelia. You've got other microbes. typically carried by ticks, Babesia, Rickettsia, Anaplasma, Ehrlichia, many species of those. But people typically have other microbes in their system. A lot of us pick up Mycoplasma when we're kids or other sources. It's really easy to get Bartonella, very different varieties from pets and other sources. These are the same. They all have the same characteristics. We can carry these things in our system for years. And all these viruses, Epstein-Barr, cytomegalovirus, all the human herpes viruses, we're all exposed to these things. They're in our tissues. They work by that same mechanism. Infect white blood cells, disperse in tissues, lay low, and hang out until you can get another opportunity to spread to another host. That's what it's all about. So these intercellular microbes live inside cells. They infect white blood cells. Typically, initial infection isn't bad, and they can be present in tissues for years without causing infection. It's only if immune system functions become chronically disrupted that it becomes a problem. And that's really the difference between acute infection. Acute infection, someone's got an intact immune system. Chronic infection, the immune system isn't able to get a handle on that infection any longer. So anytime you've got a chronic infection with anything, you have chronic immune dysfunction. We're living in a world where a lot of things are hitting us simultaneously. The processed food diet we eat, all the toxins that are circulating in our atmosphere everywhere, in our food, in our water, in our air, the chronic stress that we're under, and sitting in front of a computer all day with inactivity, all of those things disrupt immune system functions. So if you have microbes on board, and these things start adding up, at some point, the microbes start to become active and you get this vicious cycle going. The microbes can be a part of that. I certainly have patients that can originate their chronic illness as beginning with a tick bite. And I think what happens there is they already had some immune dysfunction going on for whatever reason, and they got clobbered by a cocktail of bad microbes that just kept them sick perpetually. So virtually everyone with all of these illnesses is different. So we categorize people as chronic Lyme, fibromyalgia, whatever. But I think the fundamental thing that's going on is the same, but everybody's a little bit different. Everybody has a unique illness because we have different spectrums of microbes, different things, ways that things come together to disrupt our immune system functions. And we have different genetics. So that adds up to something that is misery for a lifetime, not responsive typically to antibiotic therapy. Testing, finding the microbes is hard because they're deep in your tissues and the immune system reaction has become attenuated, so the tests are less apt to become positive, all centered in immune dysfunction. Wide range of symptoms because of the way the microbes manipulate the immune system and generate inflammation throughout the body. So there's everything from brain to toe symptoms of every variety that it's hard to sometimes put a finger. When you look at those symptoms and roll them all together, you see a lot of commonality with other illnesses, especially chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia. As we've seen tonight, a lot of people still identify with those things. I think it's possible to have all the symptoms of Lyme disease and not being carrying Borrelia, but have chronic immune dysfunction and other microbes. About 6 months ago, I sat down and tallied all the microbes, all the species of microbes that could cause Lyme-like symptoms that we could pick up from various different ways, not just from ticks, that could be dormant in our system for a long time until something that disrupted our immune system. I came up with well over 100 different species of microbes, and I think that's scratching the surface. So fundamentally, I think all of these things can be related to this commonality. Every single one of these illnesses, all chronic illnesses, show evidence of chronic immune dysfunction. So that's really the heart of the whole thing. So when we look at solutions, we've got to think about that as our central problem. So you've got these microbes. Yes, you have to suppress the microbes because they're overactive. The immune system didn't get a handle on them. And so You have to keep those things in check. You have to put them back in the box. They're generating inflammation to break down tissues, so that's what they need to survive. So you got to put a stop to the inflammation. You have to suppress the microbes, but you have to restore the ability of the immune system to function properly. So these microbes infecting these white blood cells are manipulating the chemical messenger system that white blood cells use and disrupting the immune system in their favor. You've got to calm all that chatter down and restore the ability of the immune system to communicate with itself within each of the cells to make things work again, to get control of these microbes. And when you start doing those things, you find that you're balancing hormones in the system, which is what is homeostasis about. And you're restoring, you're taking the pressure off cells so they can start repairing themselves, and you have healing. So that's where we have to go. When I looked around for things, herbal therapy did more in those respects than any other thing. So right now I'm talking about predominantly herbal therapy. There are other things out there, but this is the focus, and this is what actually did the most for me, because when you look at the herbs, they're doing more than anything else. So plants are having to deal with the same kind of problems that we are. Plants have to balance a microbiome and keep out intruding microbes. Plants have communication systems that are very similar to ours. Plants have to deal with most all of the same stress factors that we do. Plants do it with chemistry, biochemistry. So plants are producing thousands upon thousands of chemicals to manage stresses and fight off threatening microbes and all of these things. So when we consume that plant, when we consume this potent biochemistry, we're actually gaining the benefits of all the things that the plants are producing. So you get antimicrobial properties. It helps balance the immune system. It tamps down the chatter that the microbes are causing and allows the immune system to work properly, boost the parts of the immune system that need to be boosted, restore balance. It doesn't affect just the immune system and just the microbes. It's balancing hormone messengers, and you have protection of cells all the way down to the mitochondrial level, which are taking the stress off the cells so they can function, so they have more energy to do what they need to do. So when you look at the phytochemistry of herbs, it's doing a lot. Do we know that it works? How do we know this? Well, when you look at herbs compared to every other thing, there's more evidence for the herbs than anything else. First off, we've got thousands upon thousands of years of use of herbal therapy that's recorded. So we've been doing this a long time, lots of traditional uses. But we've got a lot of science too, and there has been an explosion in evaluation of this biochemistry of plants and how it affects human physiology, microbes, all of the parameters that we're looking at. All of these things have been studied. Some in the United States, lots outside the United States. There's a huge amount of research going on worldwide because of the internet. It's all easy to get to. It's all very available. So everybody is becoming aware of everybody else's work. An explosion, especially in the past 20 years, but I'm seeing more and more and more focus on herbs in the past 5. So we know a lot more than you might think. When you look at safety, yeah, we've been using them as medicine for thousands of years, but hey, beyond that, we've been using herbs for food. If you look at the ancient forage food diet, it's basically the same thing that herbal therapy is. Our herbal therapy is stems and leaves and bark and roots and wild berries and mushrooms. Well, that's what herbal therapy is. Well, that's what humans used to eat. So we've been exposed to these phytochemicals forever. And not surprisingly, they have a very, very low toxicity because we have built-in mechanisms in our genes that we process these things because they are so familiar. So they actually help us instead of a new drug that's something the body has never seen before. I think one of the problems that we're seeing in our culture is that we've basically excluded this important phytochemistry of herbs from our food supply more in the past 100 years than ever before in humans. So I see taking herbs and supplying this really important phytochemistry as really an essential part of recovery, of health, of wellness. And when you look at cost, so there's three factors. Efficacy, does it work? Safety, high profile for safety, and cost. It's an investment. Yes, herbs do cost something, especially if you buy really good extracts. But what I can tell you is I've been doing herbal therapy for 15 years, and I don't have the healthcare bill of an average 62-year-old in America or anywhere close. I don't buy drugs. I don't go to the doctor very often. So even subsidized with insurance, using the healthcare system is very expensive. I don't really need to use it very much. I save it for emergencies, and I hope to continue doing that by taking herbs and living a good lifestyle. So it's an investment. So when I looked at all the possibilities for recovering from Lyme disease, I found that herbal therapy was the most cost effective, had the highest level of evidence, and was the safest thing that I could choose. So there are a lot of other options out there. I don't know if you caught it, but we did a webinar of Lyme treatments A to Z last week, and we had a lot of fun with it. But there are a lot of good things out there. There's some that to consider beyond herbal therapy, but herbal therapy was really the one thing that hit all the right buttons. Which brings me to the Restore Kit. And I think it's, when I was going through my recovery, the downside of it was really complicated. You know, to get all the herbs that I needed, to get absolutely all the ingredients, all the stuff that I needed to make my recovery happen. Man, I mean, this is just an illustration, and sometimes it was much bigger than that. It was a lot of different things. There were different things that I was having to take. It was really complicated because you couldn't get it all in one place. Now that's becoming more available. We have our program. I think you'll find other programs out there. There's a big move toward herbal therapy for Lyme disease because it's the one thing that works the very most. So a lot of companies are popping up with herbal therapy, and some of them are quite good actually, but they're all really complicated. I think if you'll find in your pictures, you'll see this just explosion of different bottles and different times you've got to take it. And, you know, as I was going through my recovery, I kept thinking, okay, how can I make my life simple? And if I can do it for me, how can I do it for others? So I was constantly trying to simplify to get the same amount of benefit and make it easier. That's what the Restore Kit is all about. It's about 4 basic formulas. So what we're doing, how we do it is like if you look at the bottles of tincture, tinctures are good. I like tinctures, but the problem with tinctures is you got a lot of water and alcohol to get the phytochemistry. So basically what our extracts are, our herbal extracts, are what are called powdered extracts. They're very concentrated. Basically what they do is they take the water alcohol tincture, spray it out onto a surface, and spray it out onto a surface and dry it out and then collect that powder. So it's very concentrated, so you can get a lot of stuff in a very, very small package. It would have been nice to have it, and you'll see this. Here's your 1 bottle and your 1 supplement that takes care of everything. And it's, you know, I just don't think you can get there with that. It takes more than that. The smallest I could get it down to was 4 bottles. But there's a lot of stuff in there. So you've got 2 supplements that are primarily herbs, others that have some herbs, and then other just essential micronutrients that I think are very important for the recovery process. So I'm going to hit the highlights of some of these things, and then I'm going to pass it along to Tim just to tell you more about the whole thing. But again, keeping it simple, 4 formulas, 3 capsules out of each bottle twice a day. And I found, You know, there are a lot of protocols out there that recommend 3 or 4 times a day. I just couldn't do it. My life was busy. And I found that I didn't have to. I never dosed more than twice a day. And I found that it was quite easy to get away with that. I used tinctures. I used powdered extracts. I found that the powdered extracts were just easier. They were more transportable. I could use them with travel. That's the thing that really that got me where I needed to be the very, very easiest. The first one is the primary herbal that affects the microbiome. And not only the gut, but the whole body, all of these things that we have buried in our tissues. So it is a collection of herbs. Now, this is a collection of what we would define as herbs that have antimicrobial properties. All herbs have some antimicrobial properties, but these have been measured. What's significant about these is the herbs that were defined fairly early on as being especially good for Lyme disease for various reasons. And it's so putting them together adds synergy. It makes them more potent. I started using these protocols. It's a great place to start. Are these the only herbs? No. There are dozens of other great antimicrobial herbs that you can use, and we're really fortunate for that. So there are a lot of different choices. If you can't use one thing, that there are others. But this core covers Borrelia and covers the co-infections well. And it's so these are the ones that I put as the core primary product. Antibacterial, antiviral, anti-parasitic properties. Antigraphis is one of my favorite herbs. It has a lot of adaptogenic qualities. It enhances the immune system. In other words, it cuts out the chatter from the microbes disrupting the immune system and pushes that immune system toward taking out the cells that have been infected by microbes, which is really important. And that's the natural killer cells and the cell-mediated immunity. So it's reducing inflammation, targeting the immune system. But it has all these other properties. It protects the heart. It protects the neurological system. It protects the liver. You're going to see that as a recurring theme that we have with all of these things. Lots of studies. You know, you can't find an herb that there isn't some good data on if it's a commonly used herb. So this is just scratching the surface. And if anybody's really interested in some of these resources, we'd be glad to share them. This is just a small portion. I just wanted to illustrate that these are really there's some nice work out there. Cat's claw from the Amazon, antibacterial, antiviral, antiparasitic, anti-rheumatoid. It helps reduce inflammation, especially in joints. It's well known for that. It's neuroprotective. And it promotes apoptosis in abnormal cells. This is really important. One of the reasons cancer happens is because the normal process of a bad cell not destroying itself doesn't happen and the bad cell gets worse. So you want things that actually promote that normal process. Lots of really good properties with cat's claw. Again, lots of research. We can share that if anyone is interested. Japanese knotweed. This is an invasive. It's from Asia, but really, really nice source of different kinds of phytochemistry. So certainly you're starting to see that we're seeing a recurrent theme there that a lot of these herbs have similar properties. But each of these herbs comes from a different location. So they were having to deal with slightly different stress factors, different spectrums of microbes. So what we found with herbs, because they're so safe, you can combine herbs together and you get a building synergy that you build out something that's much more potent than the individual herbs. So if you took just an herb, I think it would be beneficial, but you're going to get a lot more benefit if you take a collection of herbs. And that has been well defined in herbal medicine. You don't see very many single-use herb recommendations. Most herbalists are recommending combinations of herbs because they know they're going to get a synergistic effect. So, but very similar properties, balance the immune system, anti-inflammatory, really nice anti-aging with the resveratrol, which protects cells on a cellular level from damage to the mitochondria. Really important. Again, tons of research. This is just a small sampling. Adaptogen recovery is the second product. It contains primarily herbs classified as adaptogens, which are restorative. They help us tolerate stress. They make us more resilient. They improve stamina. Really nice for that. And so there's a product that is predominantly herbs that have an immune effect and an adaptogenic effect. Chinese skullcap does have some antiviral properties, as all of these herbs do, but it seems to be really good for mycoplasma, which is present in 75% of people with chronic Lyme. Potent synergist, it brings all those herbs together and makes them more. Cardiovascular neuroprotective liver, we see this over and over. A lot of good research on Chinese skullcap. Reishi, one of my favorite. Reishi is wonderful. It does have antiviral properties. Wonderful for balancing out that immune system. Wonderful restorative. If you were going to pick a prime anti-aging herb, reishi would be a definite one to add to your list. Does a lot of the same things that the other ones do, and then some. Lots of research, much of it in Japan. They seem to be fascinated with this herb, doing a lot of research. Cordyceps from Tibet. High altitudes, it is considered a fungus. Very, very interesting herb that has antiviral properties, does a lot of the same thing. Really good for balancing the central hormone pathways, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis that's associated with stress and metabolism and everything else. So really important for that. Boost endurance and stamina, improves oxygenation of tissues. Mitochondrial support is more designed to provide cells with the nutrients that they need to stay healthy, all the way down to the mitochondrial level. Now, they're very different than herbs, and quite frankly, we don't have as much evidence for these things, though these particular ones are ones that I have painstakingly defined as reasonable and safe, which is not true of all of the micronutrients out there. But I think these are quite safe to take. Are we getting it to the cell is a big question. You know, if you take glutathione, which is a pretty big molecule, and alpha lipoic acid in these things, how much of it is actually getting to our mitochondria? Not a huge amount, probably all the way to the mitochondria, but we know that these have some protective effects throughout the system, and they're used for a lot of different purposes for the cell. Now, all of these things your body can make readily if it's healthy. So someone that's really healthy doesn't necessarily need to supplement with these things, but if you have a chronic illness, these things can be beneficial because it saves your body work. Your body doesn't have to expend as much energy to make these things. There is evidence, very good evidence, that glutathione, taken as a supplement, is absorbed. Your body does use it. So it's going to take advantage of everything that it can get to save itself work. So I had the experience with taking powdered reduced glutathione by a company called Cetria, that I was developing a really bad hand and head tremor. I was just basically shaking all the time. Within 2 weeks of doing this glutathione, it was gone. And I've been doing the glutathione ever since, and I haven't had a problem. So a lot of different properties that they affect. Glutathione is so important for detoxification and antioxidant that's ubiquitous in all cells. NAC and alpha lipoic acid replenish glutathione. Coenzyme Q10 is an important component of our energy generation process. So having these things on board can be helpful. Prevention Plus gives you the minerals and vitamins that you need. Does everybody need a multivitamin? I don't think that's necessarily so. I'm not sure everybody does need a multivitamin, but if you have chronic illness, I can tell you your cells are struggling, and anything that you can do to help them out. So when we talk about high methylation activity and these kinds of things, you need those extra nutrients. So especially for someone that's struggling with a chronic illness and chronic immune dysfunction, I think extra nutrients are really important. But Prevention Plus isn't just that. I packed it with things in there that are really important for cardiovascular function, blood flow, and supporting that whole process. So one of the ingredients is pine bark. And we put some more just straight resveratrol in this supplement. Supports integrity of blood vessels. You know, Bartonella invades blood vessels, anaplasma, rickettsia, babesia. They all like linings of blood vessels. And so protecting your blood vessels, helping your vascular system work better is really important. These things do have some immune stimulating properties and also some antiviral and antibacterial properties, anti-inflammatory. So again, a huge list of benefits. Milk thistle I put in there because you're really working your body's detoxification systems. And doing that, you need something to protect the liver. Milk thistle has been shown to increase glutathione in cells. It's a protective antioxidant. It actually stimulates regeneration of liver cells. So I felt like that was really an important component. So you throw all of these things together, you know, and here I just hit the highlights, and you got a lot of wonderful stuff. So this is a picture of a California wildfire. Why do I have a picture of a California wildfire? It's a nice analogy. You know, and I was thinking about it this way. I happened to be on vacation in California last year during the big wildfires. In fact, we were about 25 miles from where the biggest fire, the Carr Fire, sprang up. And we just noticed that everywhere we went in natural areas, everything was so unbelievably dry that you just knew if a spark hit it, that things were going to go up in a tempest. And it did. About 20 miles from where we were, it sprang into a major wildfire. Within 3 days, we had to drive way around to get around this thing. And it just illustrated. So we were in the middle of watching them try to control this thing. And and so they were bombing it with fire retardants and water, and they finally controlled the perimeter of it, but they never could control it completely because things were so dry, unbelievably dry. You can't control a wildfire when things are that dry. So what finally took care of it is when the fall rains finally came. So the only thing that can really solve that bad dryness that is making a wildfire flourish is a good steady rain for weeks and weeks and months. Well, it occurred to me that that's kind of what we're talking about with herbs, and with these situations. So yeah, you can throw fire bombs and you can throw water from airplanes and spray it from the periphery, and you can do all these heroic things, and you might slow it down and you might even stop it from growing, but you're not going to put it out and allow healing. The only thing that can do that is a good steady rain to relieve the dryness, the central problem. With chronic Lyme, the central problem is chronic immune dysfunction. Herbs are your steady rain. It takes them a while to work. So this is, a lot of people ask, well, are herbs going to be strong enough? Are they going to hit this problem right where it needs to be hit? And my response is, no, they're not as potent, but you don't need that potency. It's like throwing water bombs. You need this good, steady therapy that's restoring your immune system and allowing things to function again, to restore normal, to restore the ability of the body to take care of itself. And that's what this Restore Kit is all about. So I'm going to turn it back over to Tim and let him take it over and tell you a little bit about this great kit we got.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Dr. Rawls. So hopefully that helps everybody understand a little bit better the background behind the Restore Kit and the herbs that are in the Restore Kit, how those all come together to support you in that restorative foundation. Just want to see what your experience is with herbal therapy in the past. So if you would mind, we've got one more poll here, just wondering, have you ever used any kind of herbal therapy before? So if you would give us your vote there. Option 1, never used any kind of herbal therapy, nothing. Option 2, maybe tried an herb or two, maybe a product here and there, but not really much experience. Option 3, maybe you've used quite a few combinations for a little bit longer time. And then option 4, have you done something like the Restore Kit, a really comprehensive, intensive, prolonged sort of protocol like this that really covers all the aspects. So most people are voting. Thanks for doing that. Once again, just pick your choice and then hit submit. I'm gonna go ahead and end it and I'll share these results. So it's always interesting because when we say herbal therapy, that means lots of things. That could be anything from phytonutrients in the food you eat as a very subtle form to teas you drink, all the way up to, you know, different whole herbs you ingest to these herbal extracts, which is what we're talking about primarily in the Restore Kit that really have that more potent effect. So we've got a few folks brand new to herbs. Glad to have you. Hope you're learning a lot already. And in the majority, it looks like people have used a little bit of herbs before, but maybe nothing comprehensive like this. So we always like to point that out because people have varied success, and it depends sometimes on how exactly you are going about it. And one of the things in the Restore Kit that we found is really important is that it be a comprehensive process, because we're responding to, you know, a significant issue that maybe has been an issue for a long time. So it's going to take some time to overcome that. So what I want to talk about, and we're going to come back to the Q&A in just a little bit here. I'm seeing lots of good questions coming about MTHFR mutations, about herxing. I will get to ask those to Dr. Rawls during the Q&A session. But want to talk about some of the other components in addition to these 4 great herbs that are supporting, you know, all the systems of your body, helping suppress those microbes and support your immune system. So in addition to those herbs, we've got all of the things that you see here that come together to support the diet and lifestyle pieces that are also going to help you feel better sooner. So I'm just going to go through those one by one. We've got the Restore Kit resource page. This is basically your home base. It's got everything you need to know, starting with orientation videos that you get access to as soon as you start the Restore Kit. It tells you how to get started, how to use the products, how to use the diet guide, what to expect along the way. So really comprehensive. We've got videos from our customer support team and Dr. Rawls all together. So people really like this. We've got different serving size plans based on your needs. If you're ready just to dive in, or if you maybe are a little bit more sensitive, we've got progressive serving plans so that you can ease in a little bit slower. We know we worked with a lot of different people over the years, so we know there are a lot of different ways that might be best for you. We've got the 6-month email course, which contains the same information that is on the resource page, but it just depends how you'd like to take it. If you want to read it in emails and have them delivered to you each day, that's what this is for. If you prefer not to do the email thing and you just want to go access that information at your leisure, then use the resource page. So we get this information in 2 ways, and it's just all about helping you know all the things that Dr. Rawls wished he had known when he was going through this process, and it's organized in a timely fashion to kind of predict what is most commonly dealt with at a certain period. So month 2, what kind of issues are coming up at this point? Month 3, hopefully some things are getting better. What can you optimize? So it addresses all of that along the way. We do give you the opportunity to take checkpoint surveys every 30 days, or if you want, you can take them more frequently at the Restore Kit resource page. And these are just a nice opportunity for you to check in on some of the same symptoms and other things that you're experiencing, and then it gives you a score so that you have at least one objective measure to compare month to month on how you're doing. And then that reflection process allows you to see, where can I focus my energy? Where do I need to reach out for help? So people that complete this, we do see better success rate on the Restore program. The Vital Plan diet, that's another important part of this. Obviously, your immune system is tied to gut health, and your ability to digest foods and absorb these nutrients is important in having success. So a significant part of the Restore Kit is dedicated to healthy gut function, and one of those components is the Vital Plan diet. Dr. Rawls created that with our in-house chef, Emily Grimes, who's also a health coach, who's also been through these issues herself. So it's designed to be easy to use, quick meals, It's got a 3-phase program based on your level of GI health, so you can kind of take it where you are. And then we've got a great Restore Kit Facebook group, because that's another thing about this we hear from people all the time. It can be really isolating. Not everyone understands what it's like to deal with these things. And so it's really nice to be able to lean on a group of folks that are also in the Restore Kit, or they've done the Restore Kit in the past, and be able to ask them questions about their experience with the Restore Kit, but also just about overcoming these health issues in general. So we do moderate that and make sure it stays focused. It's a really positive group, but it is for you all to share advice with one another and provide that collaborative support. So you can see some of the posts here. We'll also share some more later of some of the people that have been on the Restore Kit. And then if you have any other questions, our great customer support team, several of them are on during the webinar right now, fielding some of your questions. They have talked to thousands of people using the Restore Kit over the past few years. Some of them have been through this stuff personally, so they understand firsthand. And then all of us work with Dr. Rawls and check in regularly so that we know how to point you to resources when you send questions our way, and share information we've learned from other customers that has worked well. So we're not a medical practice, but we can do a lot to help guide you and point you to resources along the way to make things easier. So nothing better than talking to you guys and providing support. It's really, really a great pleasure of ours. So a question I also saw come in on our question and answer, how do we know this works? Dr. Rawls, he's used this a lot in his clinic in the past. He used it personally. But now we've done some surveys periodically with our Restore Kit customers, and based on what they say, these are the results that we see. After 1 month, about 23% of people see some kind of significant improvement. After 2 to 3 months, that goes up to 64%. And after 4 months, it jumps up to 84%. So it really is all about a persistent, patient process. It's that steady rain coming down, slowly putting out the wildfire. That is what we're looking for here. And these are the results that we've seen in the past. So it of course varies for everyone depending on what you're coming in with, but it definitely pays to stick with it is what we've seen. And people are really happy with it overall. They would, 89.9% would recommend it to someone else in a similar situation to them. So that's something we're really proud of. And then I just want to share something from a customer, since it's nice to hear it from someone like you. So this is Hank Miner. He is a Restore Kit customer of ours who wanted to share this with you. And so it's just going to take about a quick 1.5 to 2 minute video here and let you see what he has to say.
What I'd like people to know is that there is a way out of this. We are not alone in this. It's very easy to collapse. I felt that myself, the discouragement and the hopelessness of having this condition and wondering if there's ever a day when I'll feel better. The fact is you can feel better, but there's a choice, and it's our responsibility for our health is ours. It's not in the hands of somebody else. It's really our choice. And here's a program that can help you. It's helping me. And what I've seen is if I take the simple steps, if I take the suggestions and take simple steps, then two things happen. I feel better and I heal faster. And this is something that's available to everyone. And there's no reason to think that there's not a way out, because there are some really dark moments in this condition. And there are bumps in the road, and you need the support to go forward. And this program, including the products and the people and the support functions here, are so profound that when you hit a bump in the road or when you get in a dark place, there's somebody you can talk to. There's a way out of this. And so I really want people to know that there is hope. You don't have to live like this. As we get older, it doesn't have to get worse. It can get better. And so I'm going to go forward with that in mind. And I want people to know that Vital Plan is a program of real people who are interested in real results for people like me. And I think that that's a goal that we all share, and I want to be supportive in helping people get there. So it's something that I encourage you to think about. It doesn't have to be the way it is. It can be better, and Vital Plan can help.
So Hank is a big inspiration of ours. In addition to a lot of other people like him that have overcome a lot of these health challenges. And so hopefully that was helpful for you to hear some firsthand experience from him. And there are lots of other people as well. These are some things we've pulled from the Restore Kit Facebook group, unsolicited. These are people just posting things that they're excited about. And it's not always cheery on the Facebook group. There are ups and downs for sure, but it's nice. That's the great thing about the group. Like to share those successes with one another. So I'll just scroll through some of these. It's just fun pictures of people that were in a tough spot at one point, and now they're doing more of what they want to be doing. And that is really why we come to work. That is why we create these products. And nothing makes us happier than seeing these fun posts of getting little glimpses of life, having your life back. So I know it's a different thing for each person, the degree of recovery that they're looking for, but yeah, just some of our favorite photos, and that's why Dr. Rawls got into all of this to begin. So before we jump into the Q&A and the giveaway I'll let Dr. Rawls say a few more words.
Yeah, just this is me at this point in life at 62, doing the things that I want to do. And at 52, I really question whether I would ever have that capacity again. I still take herbs. I don't think I've eradicated these microbes from my body, but my immune system is strong, and that is allowing me to do the things that I should be doing at this point in life, and maybe even more. I feel like I'm able to get back some of those things that I missed in my 50s. It took a lot of work to get there, but we are trying to streamline that process to make it easier for people to move forward. It is something that you have to embrace. It's something that is, if you're still in that stage of reaching out to others and waiting for someone to save you, you may not be ready for this, because you do have to embrace it. You do have to become proactive about your own recovery, your own life. You have to take control of your situation. But what I found is those are the people that have success. Those are the people that move forward with their lives. When you stop waiting for someone else to do it and you take the responsibility of doing it yourself, that's when it all happens. And that's really wonderful. And we get to that point, and we want to share it with others, because to be restored from something like this is really an extraordinary experience. It was definitely life-changing for me, and I think a lot of people would say that. Yeah, so you can do it. You just have to be committed. You have to embrace it completely. But we've tried to make it as easy as possible to show you the way to actually do that, to move forward. Just one last thing. I built this as a foundation. I think the herbs are important, but I don't want to exclude other kinds of things. So the Restore Kit is a foundation of recovery. It complements anything else that you might be doing and increases the success of those things. You can take other herbs outside of the program. I still try a lot of different herbs myself, but you need that core to really figure it out, to get that foundation. And doing that core, at least for 6 months, really gives you that foundation to know how to move forward with the whole thing. So I'm going to turn it back over to Tim for a few minutes, and then we will do questions and answers.
Great. Thanks for sticking around, everybody. I know it's a lot of information. There's a lot in the Restore Kit. It's a comprehensive thing, and we've included a lot so that we can really help you a lot. So thanks for sticking around. Still great questions rolling in the Q&A here. As promised, we do have a special offer. So anybody that feels like this is resonating with them, we'd love to help you get started. We've got a discount for, if it's your first time getting started with the Restore Kit, then we've got a coupon for you. You can use it at store.vitalplan.com. Coupon is START NOW 70 And what it does is it's basically $70 off your first Restore Kit purchase, takes it down to $199 for all 4 of those supplements with over 50 ingredients, all of the support that comes along the way, the 6-month email program, access to the Facebook group, checkpoint surveys. So a lot of great stuff that is included there. Since most people do use it for at least 3 months, 3 to 6 months generally, if not longer, depending on the person, we've got a subscribe and save program that saves you 10%. There's no commitment there. It's really easy to modify. You can set it up for every other month delivery or every 3 months, whatever works best for you if every month is not what suits your timing the best. And the good thing about that is you don't have to worry about making sure that it's coming to you. So you can rely that you'll have the next month's supply. So once again, it's start now 70, excuse me, just like it's on the screen. And that's at store.vitalplan.com. And just to give you a little peek, here's the Restore Kit. It does come with an instruction card. This is actually an old one. We've got kind of a new, more updated, comprehensive one, and the 4 products inside. So everything about, reminding you what each product is for, to how to get started with the serving sizes, and how to reach out for more support, where to look for your orientation videos, etc. So we'll put this back up at the end, but just want to let you know about that right now. Also, we are going to be giving one away. We hope this will help you be able to get started, at least one of you. And so there is a raising hand feature at the bottom of your screen. As some of you already raised your hand, I see earlier on, but if you would just go ahead and raise your hand, and that will add you to the list. We're going to do a live drawing. So Karen, our editorial director, is actually going to grab this list as soon as we get all the hands raised of people that want to be entered into that drawing. And then we'll interrupt Q&A and announce who won that, so we can see who gets to get started on the Restore Kit ASAP. And the rest of you, once again, we hope you'll take advantage of that coupon if you feel like this is the right thing for you. And it looks like we're getting lots of hand raises. It might be petering out. We'll give you just another minute for that. We are going to jump into Q&A here. And Dr. Rawls, before you come back on, I do want to remind everyone, Dr. Rawls went over a lot of herbs there. Just in case you need more time to look at that, or you want to bring that to your healthcare practitioner, or you just want more detail on it, we're going to be sending you a PDF of all of the herbs in the Restore Kit, the exact amount, the extraction ratios for any of you that want to dive into that and understand exactly how much potency you're getting in these. And that's nice. We don't really do proprietary blends. We want you to know exactly what you're putting in your body. And so you'll be able to see all that in the PDF that we'll be sending in the email right after the webinar. Also, we hope you'll stick around for the next 10 or 15 minutes of Q&A, but we will be sending a video replay. So don't worry too much if you missed something earlier, you couldn't hear a certain part, or you want to review something or share it with a loved one. We'll be sending that replay in the next 24 to 48 hours. So with that, we'll come back once again to announce the winner of the Restore Kit, and then we'll put the slide back up at the end as well. And I believe we are ready for you, Dr. Rawls. I'm gonna stop sharing our slides so that we can just see you nice and large.
So sure, the questions are always interesting. This is my favorite part, but I don't know what's coming. So what you got tonight, Tim?
That is true. All right, well, let's go ahead and take one from a live attendee here. This one is from Brad. He's heard that it's important to design a regimen of supplements to address your specific co-infections rather than just taking a general set of supplements and herbs. Do you suggest specific herb regimens to match specific co-infections or not?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of ways to look at this thing. And it's quite frankly, the problem is none of us really know what we have. And that's what it boils down to, is when you look at chronic infections, it's really hard to define exactly what is there. So first of all, the things that we're looking for, I think, is just scratching the surface. Second, I think that just because you test negative for something doesn't mean that it's not there. So I think you pretty much assume that there's more there than is meeting the eye. And I came to that conclusion and realized that that's really one of the importance of taking multiple herbs and taking a synergy of herbs. What we found is generally about 50% of people with this regimen alone, that will be all that they need. But I certainly recognize and respect that this is a different illness for every single individual. So there are certainly people that are going to need more than just the Restore Kit. I think it's really important to do that foundation, and I suggest that people do the foundation for 3 to 6 months. What you're going to find is in the Restore Kit program, you're going to learn about other herbs and other things and other things that you might want to apply. So we want to help you make that transition to that individualized course of therapy. Again, what we're doing is building a foundation. I said this since the very beginning of the program. When we first started doing the Restore Kit, I had no thoughts that this was an absolute protocol that fit everyone's needs. It's something to build on. It's a place to start, but it will get you farther faster to build that than just doing things randomly or trying to treat individual microbes, because again, whatever you think you have probably is just scratching the surface. There's always more there than meets the eye or meets the testing. It's very, very important. So that's a nice thing about the herbs is you get such broad coverage. And yes, those basic herbal protocols will cover Babesia and will cover Mycoplasma and some other things. But if you're not quite getting there, add other things to it. And I found that I did that in my recovery. I've done a lot of different types of herbs. I circulate different herbs around. But if you don't start with that foundation and really understand what you're doing with herbal therapy, it's unlikely that you're going to eventually make it work for you. We do have alternate products that we can add on. I created something that's actually a tincture, so you can do it more gradually if you want to. That's another set of herbs. So there's nothing wrong with taking other things outside the program. But again, what we found is about 50% of people, that's all they need, because herbs cover so many bases. It's really important to recognize. So I hope that answers that question. I think it's a very good question.
Great. Thanks, Dr. Rawls. We've got another one from someone that submitted beforehand. This one's from Bev. She has a hard time swallowing pills and capsules, and so wondering if there are any alternatives that she can learn about for this particular protocol.
Yeah, I've done a little bit of everything. I've done everything from tinctures to capsules to herb powders that I mix up myself. So about any way and whole herbs, teas. I've literally experimented with absolutely every way that you can take an herb. And when you boil, what it boils down to is the average person, capsules are the easiest. They are hard to get down, especially if you're doing several capsules. What makes it easier is doing it with something like coconut milk. So that's one of the things that you get in the Restore Kit is all these instructions of how to make it work. So doing coconut milk or a viscous fluid really helps the capsules go down. We have had some people open the capsules and do different kinds of preparations. You get pretty strong taste with that. And that's the thing about a lot of these herbs is they're very bitter. You can use tinctures. I actually created for people who would rather do a tincture. We've got a tincture product that's another combination of really nice antimicrobial and immune enhancing herbs for people who prefer that or would like to add that on to the main protocol. So there are definitely ways to get around it. And you can, once you get used to taking the capsules regularly, I mean, I can take 6 capsules, down them pretty easily, do some coconut milk, usually eat a piece of banana or something like that, just to make sure they all go down. And it gets easier and easier as you go through time.
Perfect. All right. Thanks a lot, Dr. Rawls. Next one is from a live attendee. Question that just rolled in here. This one's from Chelsea. She's wondering, is there any herxing that she should worry about on the Restore Kit? And can you maybe briefly explain that concept for folks that aren't familiar?
Sure. Herxing, just very briefly, I think most people with Lyme disease are familiar with the concept of hertzing. It's this idea that when we introduce something that kills microbes, the bacteria die and particles of the bacteria become inflammatory. We produce antibodies to them and they clog up our immune system. And it's and so you get this inflammatory reaction that basically intensifies all of your symptoms after you started a new therapy. Happens with antibiotics. It can happen with herbs. I found that it's highly variable from person to person because we all have a different spectrum of microbes, and some microbes are more apt to cause hertzing reactions than others. It's like Bartonella doesn't tend to cause hertzing the same way that Borrelia does. But that being said, I like to think of it another way. When you introduce this therapy, you've got this war going on, this terrible tug of war between the microbes and the immune system. So you've got this struggle. So when you introduce a therapy that's challenging the microbes, it's like you intensify that war going on. So I think it's more than just die off of bacteria. I think it's an intensification of the inflammatory reaction. So part of it is anti-inflammatory herbs. So herbs tend to cause less of Herxheimer reactions than others, but just going slowly. That's one of the beauties with the email program. I've installed virtually answers to virtually any question that anybody can ask and tried to put them in there in a timely fashion. So instead of just throwing you a bunch of information, you get these emails, and I tried to plan them so that you're going to get them about the time that you would be dealing with that issue. So there's a really good one on how to take the capsules. There's a really good one on how to deal with Herxheimer reactions. There's a really good one on how to deal with those inevitable relapses that occur. So you combine all the things that you get with the email information on Rawls MD, and then Unlocking Lyme. It's a lot of information, all built to help you answer questions and solve problems. This same kind of thing would cost you thousands and thousands of dollars to get from some kind of healthcare situation.
Yeah, and you know that firsthand. I know you did a lot of counseling in your clinical days, and it's hard to bill for that. So you did it anyways because it matters. It's what changes things. Yeah. But yeah, so that's what's in there. Okay, just time for a couple more questions, and I do want to announce we've got a winner for the Restore Kit giveaway, and it is Jay. Jay from Connecticut. So said the home of Lyme itself, although we are finding it in every state in the US and Canada and a lot of places that don't think they have it. So congrats again, Jay, and thanks everyone else for putting you're raising your hand up, and maybe next time. But Dr. Rawls, the next question here we've got is from, this is actually we'll save this one for the next one, excuse me. We do have a question about CBD and whether or not CBD is anything that you could use as a sort of adjunct, either supportive measure for.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Again, that email series is really nice because you get so much other information, and you're going to learn about other options like CBD. CBD is really nice for reducing Herxheimer reactions, for enhancing your recovery, for just helping you feel better all the way around. CBD, and here we're talking about CBD oil from the hemp form of cannabis. It does not have THC to any significant degree. It does not cause euphoria. It is not habituating. It is extremely safe to use, and safe to use long term. It can be a really nice complement to recovery. You're hearing some people say out there, oh, CBD is a treatment for Lyme disease. I don't think so. I don't think it has all the things that you need in it, but it's a wonderful complement to these other herbs. A little bit pricey right now to get the quantities that you need. So, most people use it more intermittently when they're more symptomatic, just because of the price barriers. But once they sort out all the legal things, I think it will be kind of an integral part of most herbal protocols. But right now, you can't sell it with a protocol. It has to be sold completely separately. But if you want to complement your recovery, like I said, build that foundation and then add to it. And CBD may be something that you want to otherwise invest in that's going to help boost your recovery even faster. So there are a lot of things like that, and we can help you learn about them.
Thank you, sir. And since we've had a lot of questions about that, do you want to point you to a good resource, a Vital Plan sister company? Vital Plan Select carries some great quality CBD, and I think our chat moderator, Jim, is going to post that in the link for anyone who's interested. Next question, Dr. Rawls. This is something more to make sure you check with your particular healthcare provider about, but want to throw it out there. Are there any interactions with blood thinners with herbs that people should know about, Dr. Rawls?
Yeah, you know, all of these kinds of things are things that we address with the information that we provide. Blood thinners is the one of the few things that is a negative interaction between herbs and drugs. And it's because many of your herbs have platelet inhibiting qualities. They inhibit stickiness of platelets. So they do thin the blood just a little bit. But they also improve vascular integrity. They do a lot of wonderful things for our body. So from a health point of view, that property of herbs is very, very health enhancing. That being said, if you're on a blood thinner, sometimes you need to be aware. You do need to be aware of that if you're using herbs and using that quality. Doesn't necessarily mean you can't use the herbs. And sometimes what I find is if you've got an open-minded physician that you can work with, you can measure your blood samples and measure the amount that your blood is being thinned. And sometimes with the herbs, you can actually reduce the level, the amount of drug that you're having to take. But you need a healthcare provider that you can work closely with, preferably someone who understands the effects of herbs and isn't afraid of them. So that's one of the really nice things that I see as a possibility of, in many cases, being able to reduce the doses of toxic drugs by supporting the healing systems in the body. Basically, you know, the herbs set up a state where you're normalizing systems, so you just have less use for the drugs. So I think that can be a very valuable property, but one, especially with blood thinning, that has to be respected.
Yeah, great. Thanks for clarifying that. And I see some other ones coming in about questions with your particular medications. Definitely check with your healthcare provider just to be sure. Try to find one that's informed so they can help really guide you. But it's nice to be able to touch on at least that one while we've got time. And now we're up for our last question, Dr. Rawls. And this one is from Anonymous. Didn't catch the name on this, but they're wondering if you feel like you are back to 100%, what percent do most of the customers get back to after doing your protocol? So just kind of where are you and how have you maintained along the way?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. Just following up on that last one too, you know, when we talk about talk to your healthcare provider, the problem is there aren't very many healthcare providers out there that are knowledgeable about herbal therapy and how to use it in concomitantly with drugs. So if you've really got some questions, if you're on medications and you have questions about using herbal therapy, I would highly recommend that you consult an herbalist. If you can find a first certified herbalist, which is something that is becoming easier and easier to do, then those people can better help guide you in your relationship with your physician and how the drugs are used. So don't forget that certified herbalists out there are becoming very available, and they have a lot of wonderful skills that are outside the arena of the normal healthcare system. They can be really, really valuable in your recovery.
That's a great point.
So yeah, where am I now? Well, I can't run and leap like I did when I was 20 or 30, but you know, it's quality of life that we're talking about. I'm 62. My cells are aging. There's not a whole lot that you can do about that, but I'm preventing my cells from aging at an accelerated rate. And I think that's really important, that microbes and all these other stress factors that we're exposed to accelerate the rate of cellular aging. And I feel like I've stopped that. And a big part of that is plants. What I've come to appreciate is that we really depend on plants. All energy for all life forms essentially comes from plants. Plants convert the energy of the sun into carbohydrates and fat that we use for energy. So plants basically supply all of the energy for all life forms on Earth, with the exception of bacteria that live in the deep ocean. So we really rely on plants very heavily. We rely on plants for food. And we've gotten away from, we're eating a lot of grains, we're eating a lot of processed grains and meats. We've given up our relationship with plants. And I think the herbal therapy just reestablishes that important relationship, and it protects us in so many ways. So when I look at healthy aging options, herbs are right at the top of my list. And I'm basically I'm not doing quite the intensity of herbs that I did for 5 years during my Lyme recovery, but I still do a spectrum of restorative herbs every single day. And what I find is I just don't have the things that other people my age have. You know, I don't have the same rate of colds and flus, and when I get them, they're very, very mild. I don't have the knee pain and arthritis symptoms. I don't have the same energy that I did when I was 20, but I don't feel fatigued. You know, I feel normal energy. Everything is working properly. So I'm doing a lot of stuff. I'm still kite surfing. I'm still kayaking. I'm still surfing. I'm still biking. I'm still doing things that I thought at age 50 were gone out of my life. So that's pretty extraordinary. Don't know how long I'm going to be able to keep up doing them, but that quality of life, I think I will be able to retain for long term. So yes, I got it all back and more. And that's pretty extraordinary. Does everybody do that? Everybody's situation is a little bit different, but what we see is a very high percentage of people that really embrace this thing and really do all the things that I'm asking them to do. And it's really not hard. You know, sure, I've changed my diet. It's not that hard. The things that I do, I eat well. I eat like a king. But there are a lot of things that I just don't eat. I manage my stress. I take time out to stay active. I go to yoga classes 4 times a week. But all of those things enhance my life and enhance my ability to interact with my environment and to interact with my world in a very positive way. So that's really important. So yes, you can get there. Yes, you can improve your life. And I think the big thing is making that step beyond chronic Lyme disease, beyond chronic illness. I think this is really important because there was a stage where I was like, why is this happening to me? Who can I find that's going to fix me? You know, and I was desperate. And it wasn't until that I came around to saying, okay, there's not anybody else out there that can help me like I can help me. And I took responsibility for my own situation. I embraced my recovery. I moved beyond letting the symptoms rule me. I moved beyond the symptoms and looked for purpose in life beyond the symptoms that I was having. So I was moving beyond it, even as the herbs were working in my body. You throw all of those things together, and it's really very, very powerful. So I think that anyone in any situation can move their life to a point that it has purpose, it has joy, it can be fulfilling. Even if you don't eliminate every single symptom, even if you don't get all of your energy back, you know, and it's going to be different from somebody who's 70 compared to somebody who's 20 or 30. But I think there's a high probability that you can get a lot back. And I think there's a high probability that you can find purpose and joy in life again. And that's what it's all about. Yep.
Great. Well, thank you, Dr. Rawls.
Absolutely, Tim, and thank everyone for joining us. And yeah, look forward to seeing you in more webinars, a lot more information coming your way.
Thanks, Dr. Rawls. I know it's always really helpful people to hear your own personal story of that. People writing into the Q&A box right now saying that very thing. Just, it's nice to hear Dr. Rawls' testimonial, and then a lot of other folks that have been in the same position and also had success. So, so I'm going to put that offer back up. Thanks again, everyone, for being here. Want to reiterate once again, this is everything that comes in the Restore Kit. All those resources are at that centralized Restore Kit resources page. And once again, it's a $70 off your first purchase if you're interested in getting started on this. If you do subscribe and save, an additional 10% off. You can see the coupon code START NOW 70. Use that at store.vitalplan.com. And I apologize we didn't get to everyone's question, but hopefully everyone learned a lot about the Restore Kit. Anything else left that you would like to know, please do check out the Restore Kit product page. There's a pretty comprehensive description there, all about how it was created, once again, how it works, pretty in-depth Q&A, commonly asked questions, frequently asked questions section at the bottom. You can browse those. Hopefully that'll answer a lot of your questions. And then anything else left unanswered, please do reach out to our customer support team at info@vitalplan.com. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. There's usually a little flood of emails after these webinars, but we'll respond as quickly as we can. Our chat monitors will be on for another couple minutes here. If you want to post anything else to them, I know they're keeping up with as many of these questions as they can, but we probably won't get to every last one. So congrats again to Jay from Connecticut on that free Restore Kit. We will email you about your information tomorrow. And yeah, we'd love to have you guys get started if this looks like a good program for you. And thanks for being here. Thanks again. We hope you stay tuned for future webinars. And we'll see you all there. Keep an eye on your email. We'll send the PDF of those ingredients and also the replay tomorrow. So I think that's all. All right, everybody. Thanks again. Have a good night.